So we are now 2 games into the India versus Zimbabwe 5-match T20I series, and for anyone thinking this would be a boring run-of-the-mill bilateral, so far it's been anything but that. We've seen some interesting upset results in the first game. The second, you've seen a youngster manage to make his mark in the international stage in the best way possible, but now there's going to be an added complication for the Indian team. That is because the 3 members from the T20 World Cup winning squad, who were in fact, let's say, not part of the squad for the first 2 games, are going to be coming back in. Those members, of course, as you can see on your screen, you've got Samson, Jaiswal and Shivam Dube, all of whom will be expecting to play at least some games, because again, all 3 of them have been there and thereabouts in the scheme of things. The real question, and that's what we're going to try and debate here today, is where exactly do you fit them in? How do you fit anyone in? Because really, there's an embarrassment of riches in that squad.
Yeah, it's actually a happy headache for the Indian cricket team, but I can't really say the same about both of us, because we really had to dig deep into what could be India's possible 11 going into the 3rd T20, and not just that, the 4th and 5th T20s also, which are going to take place this weekend.
Yeah.
So I think let's just get to the bottom of it. So who do you think would be your openers?
See, that's the thing. I mean, I'm a big fan of Yashasvi Jaiswal, really big fan.
Yeah.
But how do you possibly justify benching someone who's just gotten 100 in the last game? And here's the thing, in a normal circumstance, I'd have benched Gill, but he's been named the captain for the tour. So dropping him now would be a major, let's say, vote of no confidence in him. And I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to give him a little bit of time, because I do believe that they want to, let's say, give him that time, not only with his in the middle of the bat, but for captaincy as well. Potentially, they could be vetting him. So he's safe. Do I see Jaiswal playing the 3rd game? Possibly not. I think he may have to sit on the bench for at least a game, if not longer.
So then who is your other opener? Abhishek?
Abhishek has to be. You cannot drop someone who's just gotten 100. It's just not possible. I think what you'll do is potentially get a 2-1. Then after that, if you can get it to 2-1, bring in Jaiswal, or maybe even get it to 3-1, which is what we've seen the teams do. They'll seal bilateral series and then make a raft of changes. Because right now, Abhishek, see, if he didn't get a good score, then I think Jaiswal would have been a shoo-in. But he follows up a duck with a ton, and not just a ton, it was a brutal ton.
Yeah.
So I think he starts for now.
Okay, so I have a different opinion here. Had it not been for the delay caused by the hurricane in Barbados, I think Yashasvi Jaiswal would have begun the tour alongside Shubman Gill.
100%.
And that's where I think now that he's going to be back for the remaining 3 T20s, I see Jaiswal opening with Shubman Gill, because Jaiswal, if you remember, he was India's backup opener for the T20 World Cup. So he will definitely be a straight in once he lands in Zimbabwe. In fact, he has landed in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
So for me, the 2 openers for the 3rd T20 are Jaiswal and Gill, and Abhishek Sharma, who is still pretty much new to the international arena. I don't think I'm going to drop him, obviously, but he, for me, fits at number 3.
I mean, considering the kind of problems you've been having in that position in this series, you've been playing Rituraj there. I mean, you could have potentially sent in Sai Sudarshan over there. It might not be the worst shout in the world, especially when you're looking at this series mostly to get players game time. That means Rituraj goes out there, or Sai Sudarshan potentially. Poor guy didn't get to do anything on his debut, didn't bat, didn't bowl. He was a right-arm fielder. So, okay, that's fair enough. I still think it'll be interesting to watch, because again, with Jaiswal, the team management have been kind of iffy. They had no hesitation dropping him during the World Cup. And the same could be said about Gill. So I think Gill is obviously safe because, of course, captaincy. But I think, if you have to bring him in, then you have to do it now. You either bring him in now, or you bring him in for the last game only. Because anything in between that, and then this is going to be nothing happening.
So who is your number 3 then?
If Jaiswal doesn't sit out, or if Jaiswal sits out.
Or who is your number 3?
I think they'll stick with the same team. Then, because ideally, if you're looking at it, there really is no proper number 3. The closest, ironically, is Samson, but are you going to fit him in as a pure batter? I'm not so sure. Which brings us, of course, to
the middle order.
Samson.
Okay, so Samson was obviously set to start the series alongside Jaiswal and Shivam Dube, but then, obviously, we have stated the reason why it did not happen. Jitesh Sharma was brought in as the replacement for the first 2 T20s, and obviously then you have Dhruv Jurel, who has made his debut, didn't really do well in the opening T20, and in the second T20 he wasn't really needed. But then, considering the seniority and considering the experience and the previous form that Sanju Samson has brought to the table, not just in the T20 World Cup also, that's why he was selected there. I think for me, Sanju Samson gets a look in. ahead of Dhruv Jurel, and I think for me, he bats at number 4.
Then if you do that, actually say I was thinking about it.
Which means that I am dropping Ruturaj Gaikwad. It's harsh, but sometimes you have to take that
And
decision.
also the thing with Gaikwad is that he's probably best as an opener.
Yeah.
You're kind of wasting him at 3 or 4, wherever you may want to be playing him. Whereas with Sanju, we know he's more natural over there.
Absolutely.
Also, what it does is then, I think Dube is the one person who I think 110% walks in.
Yeah.
You know why? Because he gives you a pace bowling option, and bear in mind I'm using the word pace bowling in the loosest form, but I think on the kind of pitches you get over there, his bowling may be helpful, may be handy, and I think in the last game they had one too many spin bowling options.
Absolutely.
It didn't really, I don't think it was necessary, because if you remember, most of the damage early on was done by your
Pacers.
So you had 4 spin options if you're including Riyan Parag, who did bowl an over, and you only really had 2 seam options. So
and even Abhishek Sharma also bowled a couple of overs.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There were so many spinning options because you had Riyan Parag, you had, of course, you had Abhishek Sharma who bowled, then you had Washington Sundar and Ravi Bishnoi. 4 spinning options on a track that didn't really assist that much spin. I think if you're going to get flatter tracks, which to be fair is what happens in T20Is, you may want a pace option, which is where Dube for me 100% fits in. And to get him in, like if I was sticking with my original combination, I would have actually dropped a Sai Sudarshan or Gaikwad to bring him in. Because again, he comes in the middle overs, can be that spin killer with the bat, and then in the middle overs will give you a couple of overs. And against Zimbabwe, I think he can bowl 2 to 3 overs as well. I don't think that will be much of a problem. So actually, if you're looking at from these 3, the only one who I see sure walking in, eyes closed, is Shivam Dube.
Okay, for me, I think all 3 of them play, because this is one thing that we agree that Shivam Dube gets a look in. Obviously, he gets a look in the middle order at 5 or 6, depending upon the circumstances, because the way Rinku Singh has played, I think he can be slotted in at any position. He can play at number 3 also, and he can play at number 7 also, which means that you have Dube as your number 5 or 6, then you have Rinku Singh, Washington Sundar also plays. That leaves us to Riyan Parag. So will he be given a go at number 6 or number 7, given that India want to extend their batting to number 8? Or you would want to, let your batting be till number 7 and then have your specialist bowlers?
I think you'll go with the 8 option, because now I think they're kind of wedded to it, A, and B, your one win came when you had 8 batting options. So I think you'll stick with 8, and that's why Riyan Parag still gets a look in. Of course, the fact that he gives you a bowling option probably doesn't hurt his chances either. But I think he'll get it for that reason, even though first game wasn't very good, didn't really show much with the bat, but we know what kind of player he is, and to his credit, I think the last year or so, he's shown consistent form. Not even talking IPL, I'm talking about domestically. In Ranji Trophy, he was very good. Then in the S-Mat, I think he had about 5 50s on the trot. So he's been in good form. I'm going to keep backing him. And of course, he gives you that added advantage that he's extending your batting. I think that batting extension is what's made a real difference to India's confidence to go all out. Because Rinku Singh knows that he can attack from ball 1 if he's coming in whatever phase, because there's still batting to follow. Same with an Abhishek. He doesn't need to take his foot off the pedal. And I think that confidence is really key to ensuring that come what may, I think you have 8 batters. You're going to keep that.
And I think if Washington Sundar is the one who bats at number 8, and obviously then you have your Ravi Bishnoi and 2 seamers, which means that India could have as many as 6 to 7 bowling options. And 2 seamers, Sundar, then you have, I think you have Bishnoi, and obviously from the all-rounders you'll have Dube, Abhishek Sharma and Riyan Parag. 7 bowling options. When was the last time you saw this thing in an Indian team?
I mean, you did
maybe way back in early 2000s?
You did see it during the T20 World Cup, but then you had 2 bowlers who were out of form. Dube wasn't used and Jadeja was barely used. From this lot, you can actually give an over or 2 to everyone, and you don't need your all-rounders to actually fulfill their quota of overs. Not at all. And in T20s, I think there's always a benefit to having bits and pieces players. See, none of these guys would I trust to be bowling 10 overs in an ODI. Let's be very fair. No. But in a T20 game where you need 1 or 2 overs here or there to bring in a bit of an unknown, or someone who can just squeeze a wicket out, the Shardul Thakur school of bowling, as I call it.
Or maybe, bowl that over that Yusuf Pathan bowled in the 2007 T20 World Cup final. 5 overs, 1 run, and your job is done. That's the point.
Those kind of overs, Riyan Parag did it yesterday. Same. No runs, no wickets, 5 runs, but very tidy little over in between. So having those kind of bowling bowlers is advantageous, and I think India are finally learning that okay, you can have 3 bowlers, and why another reason why I'm saying Dube for sure starts, because remember, he wasn't playing on this tour.
Yes.
It was originally earmarked for Nitish Reddy, and I'm 110% sure, listen, they are salivating at the prospect of seeing Nitish Reddy. Unfortunate he had to get injured, so that's why I'm saying Dube is the only sure shot. But I do agree with you in one sense. I wouldn't be surprised if all 3 of them just walk in.
Yes.
Because they've been part of the World Cup squad, and don't forget, these 2 guys didn't even play a game. Sanju played a warm-up game, but I'm not.
But they had to be
that.
match ready, because had there been any injury replacement, they would have been the sure shot starters, and
now,
that's why I feel that they would get a game.
And now you'll see these guys potentially get a step in. Of course, again, if you ask me personally, I wouldn't want all of them to get a look in right now. I'm kind of liking the look of this side, but I do agree with Siddharth that you could potentially see all 3 of them walk in. So that's what we feel about this. You guys can let us know in the comments below if you agree, disagree, or who you'd be, dropping, bringing in, etc. Let us know all of that. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, to like it, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell icon as well, follow us on social media, download the AajTak app if you haven't already, and stay tuned. Plenty more coming your way. For now, from my side and from Siddharth Gulati's side, it's goodbye.